Men get essayed too. So I want to tell a story. I was in ninth grade at this time, and I was talking to my really good Muslim friend at the time. We would make racist jokes and talk about our respective faiths, and it was a really fun time. But there was one time where it wasn't so fun. It was a couple minutes before the bell rang, and I approached him to start talking about our respective faiths and things like that, and maybe he could connect me to a Muslim scholar I could talk to. So we were doing that, and then suddenly I felt a touch. Now, this touch wasn't anything that I was expecting, and that is what was so shocking is that I never expected this to happen because I mean, one thing, men don't get complimented and men don't really get touched in this way without uh, some context in which it is expected. But this was completely random, especially in the middle of class, and especially as I'm literally having a conversation about the Christian faith and the Islamic faith. But this woman decided to pinch me in my rear. Not even just once, but twice. And then she went back to her friend group and started laughing and pointing at me. Now, at the time, I used the conversation with my Muslim friend as a way to distract myself from what was actually going on. But it took until I'm about to be a sophomore in college to really think about how terrible this situation actually was and how I reacted in taking all of that in. I was shocked. Like I Let me try to explain why and just how much I was shocked. So, for a lot of guys, they just don't get complimented or touched at all. And this was true for me and a lot of my male friends in high school. Usually, at least in my high school, it was the other way around. It was the men trying to chase down the women by complimenting them. And yeah, there were a lot of times where there was touching, whether it was consensual or otherwise. Another reason for my shock was just that I was not expecting this, and I also was not expecting it in this context. I was literally talking to someone about faith in Spanish class, like literally in class. But another thing too was that I was a Christian man, and I still am a Christian man, but someone who, especially back then, struggled with lust. So I expected my reaction, if I ever got touched in that way, was to uh, become aroused, right? Turned on or something. But the exact opposite of that happened to me. And I didn't know why, and I couldn't explain it. And I didn't want to look at them because I was ashamed at the fact because I was being laughed at for what just happened. My ears got hot, I got really sweaty, and a bunch of other things occurred, and the pinch did kind of hurt, which I am now realizing is what happens when I get anxious. So I'm sitting here confused, riddled with anxiety, um, and struggling to comprehend and accept what the heck just happened. As the years wore on, I would look back at that experience and laugh because I thought it was hilarious. And I'm someone who has a very liberal sense of comedy, so there are a lot of things in life that I will laugh at, and I genuinely believe that laughing through pain is a much better thing to do than just being depressed over pain. Not to say that you can't be depressed, of course, I have legitimate reasons to be depressed, but I do think that comedy is an amazing tool in those regards. But as I mentioned, it didn't hit me until very recently that this situation was a situation in which, in a public area, particularly public school, I was a guy and even a Christian guy who was SA'd uh, and then laughed at after it took place. I was anxious. I was scared. My thoughts were running at 1,000 miles per minute. Like, did anyone notice? Did anyone care? Does anyone care? Why are they laughing at me? Why do they think this is funny? Uh, why didn't they ask me first? Why am I not reacting in the way that I thought I would? If I just focus on this conversation with this Muslim, can I get over this? It even became hard to hear him because I was so drenched in my thoughts and anxiety that his voice actually started to like drown out in my ears. It was really rough. So, obviously, this is not the worst experience I could have had, and people, both male and female, have had much worse experiences. It's just interesting to me that I, for years, rationalized it, uh, laughed about it, and kind of moved on without thinking about the fact that I was unconsensually touched and then laughed at. And I never actually like took the time to comprehend, to accept, and to deal with any ramifications that may have come about as a result of that. And I thought that Men's Mental Health Month would be a good time to make a video talking about this because people often think that men just don't get essayed. Maybe there are multiple reasons for that, but people just think it doesn't happen to them. And as we've mentioned in this series, and as other people have mentioned, both males and females, we often don't like when men express their opinions, excuse me, we often don't like when men express emotion, specifically, or cry, or show that they're struggling, or have anxiety or depression, or something like that. Um, and both men and women don't like that, oftentimes. So I thought it'd be a good time to do the opposite, to actually open up about a experience, to bring awareness to men's mental health and their struggles in society, and also to bring awareness to the fact that, yeah, this does happen to men too. So, yes, men's mental health is important, men's experiences are important, and yes, it happens to us too. Please react to this video, share it if you want to, like, comment, etc. Share your experience with whether male or female of a male that you know in your life that has something like this being essayed, has happened to, and let's have a conversation about this sort of thing.